If you've been scrolling through endless product pages, watching countless video walkthroughs, and still can't decide whether a step-down isolation transformer is worth the shelf space in your rack, this review is going to pull the fog away. You're probably wondering if the extra protection and the ability to run a UPS at a lower voltage is something you'll actually use, or if you're just adding another box that will sit idle most of the time. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's break down why the CyberPower OL5KSTF might be the missing link between your power needs and the peace of mind you're after, and where it could end up being more of a hassle than a help. First off, the core idea behind a step-down isolation transformer is pretty simple. You take your standard 120V line, drop it down to a lower voltage, typically 100V, so that a UPS can run more efficiently and, in many cases, last longer. That's a big deal if you run a home office or a small server closet where heat is already a concern and you want to squeeze every watt out of your battery packs. The CyberPower OL5KSTF does exactly that, but it also throws in a smart app component that lets you monitor voltage levels and temperature from a phone. In real-world terms, that means you can see whether the unit is getting too hot before it actually shuts down, and you can adjust load distribution without climbing up on a ladder to the rack. Who should actually consider this unit? If you're already using a UPS that sits on the edge of its capacity and you've noticed that the batteries aren't holding charge as long as they used to, a step-down transformer can shave a few % off the power draw, translating into longer runtime during a blackout. It's also a solid match for people who have a mix of equipment, say, a couple of servers, a network switch, and a desktop workstation, all feeding off a single UPS. The OL5KSTF provides 12 NEMA 520R outlets, so you can plug in multiple devices without needing additional power strips. That rack or tower versatility is handy for anyone who moves equipment between a rack cabinet and a desk. The unit's footprint isn't huge, and the mounting holes line up with standard 19-inch rack rails, making the swap painless. On the flip side, if you're a casual user who only runs a single laptop or a few peripherals off a modest UPS, the extra step of wiring a transformer into the line might be overkill. The OL5KSTF's value really shines when you have a significant load, think 2 kilowatts, or more, that you're trying to keep running through an extended outage. For light-duty setups, the cost and the space it occupies could be better allocated toward a higher-capacity battery bank, or a more modern UPS that already supports step-down functionality natively. Now let's talk practicality. In a typical office setup I've seen, the transformer sits between the wall outlet and the UPS. You plug the transformer into a standard 120V receptacle, and then you plug the UPS into the transformer's output. The transformer then supplies a stabilized 100V to the UPS, which in turn powers the downstream equipment. What's nice about the OL5KSTF is that it includes over-temperature protection. During a summer heatwave, the transformer's internal fans kick in and the unit will automatically shut down if it reaches a critical temperature, sparing you a nasty surprise of a fried UPS. That safeguard is a concrete example of the smart app not just being a novelty. The app will send you a push notification the moment the unit hits that thermal threshold, giving you time to move equipment or improve cooling before any damage occurs. One of the hidden trade-offs is the added voltage drop on the output side. Because you're stepping down voltage, the current on the secondary side actually increases to maintain the same power level. In a heavy load scenario, that means the transformer's internal wiring has to handle higher amperage, which can lead to slightly higher heat generation overall. CyberPower lists an over-temperature shutdown, but users have reported that under extreme, continuous loads the unit can run hotter than a conventional UPS alone. If your environment already runs hot, you might need to add extra ventilation or place the unit in a cooler aisle. It isn't a showstopper, but it's a factor you'll want to measure before you commit to a permanent installation. Another practical consideration is the noise level. The transformer's cooling fans are not whisper quiet. They produce a hum that's noticeable if the unit is placed near a workstation or in a quiet meeting room. In the reviews that are publicly available, the predominant sentiment is that the fan noise is acceptable in data center type environments, but it could become a minor distraction if you're using the unit in an office where people are on conference calls. The good news is the fan speed is algorithmically linked to temperature, so during normal operating conditions it will run relatively quietly, only ramping up when the internal temperature climbs. Reliability scores.